change the computer. Resume the recording. All right, welcome to week 4 of HIT 500. I'm telling you that this model is moving right along, all right? So let's get the regular business that we know we have to complete. We know we have our knowledge checks. We know that the better you do, the more times you take it, it will help you on your weekly feedback. We are going to cover some of the apply and reflect. The question for everyone watching the playback: how would you spend your winnings if you won $6 million tax-free in the lottery? Remember, this is a math class, so I'm curious. What would you do? How would you spend it? Would you spend it? Let's have an amazing conversation in the discussion forum. Now, let's get our math trivia question. Where is 4 considered an unlucky number in the world? Like, what area of the world is the number 4 considered unlucky? Do you guys have an idea? If you've watched the movie Turning Red, it was in there. Or the cartoon, I don't know what we call it, the 3D thing. If you've watched the cartoon Turning Red, it was in there. Where is 4 considered an unlucky number? Asia. Now, math may not teach us how to add love or subtract hate, but it gives us hope that every problem has a solution. This week, we are getting into chapter 5, length of stay. With length of stay, how long has this really been going on? We have a couple learning objectives that we have to get out of the way. We're going to analyze the length of stay for adults, children, and newborns. We're going to assess the total length of stay for a group of discharged patients, as well as interpret the relationship between length of stay and utilization management. So, like everything in the statistics class, we're going to get the definitions out of the way. We're going to get the terms so that once we start getting into the math problems, we have an idea of how it all ties together. All right. Now, we look at length of stay. This is the clinical metric that measures the length of time that's between a patient's hospital admittance, so when they get admitted to the hospital, and then when they're discharged. The length of stay, also known as LOS, can be calculated on a hospital-wide basis by or in a therapy area, including acute MIs or heart attacks, or even patients with diabetes. The number of calendar days a patient stays in the hospital from admission to discharge, like you see on the screen. We also look at how do we utilize it, and it helps with our financial reports. Another thing we look at in statistics is discharge days. Every day that a patient is in the hospital is counted as a discharge day, except the day of discharge. So let's say the patient gets admitted on a Monday and they're discharged on a Friday. Well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is going to be considered, but that last day is the actual discharge day. So the length of stay for one patient is determined by subtracting the date of admission from the date of discharge. Discharges include patients discharged alive and those that have unfortunately passed. Patients admitted and discharged on the same day are considered to have 1 day of length of stay. So even if they come Monday morning and they're discharged Monday night, it's still considered 1 day.
I have a question.
Yes.
So are they billed for discharge days plus inpatient days? I don't understand what the difference is between discharge days and inpatient days.
So the,
Inpatient days are the days they're in the hospital.
Yes.
So why would you count discharge days as all those same days also?
so a lot of it's going to depend on the facility and what the facility uses when they are actually getting their claims and getting their financial cycle and how they do different things. And that's really how a lot of it, how it goes. So at an ambulatory surgery center, we may, because a lot of those are just same days, we would have them come in and then they're gone by 23:59 is what we do in ambulatory surgery centers. Now, for a hospice, let's say, versus an inpatient, where you know the patient's going to be there until their unfortunate death,
Demise.
right? Until they're, I'm trying to say the words so they don't come off like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so like you look at a hospice or a long-term facility where when you look at a discharge, they're talking about the patient actually leaving the hospital, the duration of the hospitalization, and it's kind of, it can be a little confusing, but if you look at the formulas, we're looking at days specifically versus when we talk about inpatient days, you're looking at more of the hospital itself. So now we're talking about
Okay.
an individual person. So like, if you remember last week when we looked at inpatient days, it wasn't toned to one patient, right? It was
Yep.
how many patients during this particular month, week. And now we're getting closer to, okay, I need to charge this one patient. How long were they actually in the hospital?
Yeah, that makes sense now. Inpatient days is the whole, yeah, okay.
So like, think hospital. And this is good
Yeah,
because, you know, when you take your midterm, these are all going to be on the same, right? You'll have your inpatient days, you'll have, you know, your discharge days. And then the biggest thing is to remember when we're looking at discharge days, we're looking at an individual's time versus patients.
we do get 3 hours to take that, right?
I will check. I will definitely check. But I mean, it's going to be longer because it's math, right? And making sure you guys
Yeah.
have everything. And then, yeah, so we'll get to that. But great question. And I'm glad you asked that because a lot of people may not know, and that'll be an easy way to get caught up on the midterm. So thank you for asking that great question. Another fun fact is the majority of patients, or at least 75%, are discharged between 141 or 1341 and 1746. I know that's kind of weird, but that's just the normal discharge. The median discharge time was about 350 or 1550. Okay, so let's start counting our length of stay. So what is length of stay, right? It's a metrics where we're measuring the length of time that has elapsed between a patient, keyword a patient's hospital when they were admitted and then once they're discharged. It can be calculated in a couple ways. We're going to go over the different methods. So in front of you, you're seeing you're counting using a calendar day. Easy. Patients admitted on 3/30, they're discharged on 4/4. So you start with day 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, discharge day, unless it's one day, does not count. So you would subtract that. So in this particular case, the patient was there for 5 days. Okay, that's one way. The second method is you're listing the dates. These are useful for short days, right? Example, patient's date, same patient admitted on 3/30, discharged 4/4. So then you're kind of doing the same thing, except you know the days of the month, right? And you never count the discharge day unless it's a one day, okay? 3/27, here's another example that I have in my mind. Patient was admitted on March 27th. They were discharged on March 30th. So they were 3 days because admission day, 3/27, 3/28, 3/29. We do not count the discharge day. They were there for 3 days, okay? Fourth method, or third method, sorry. We look at segments. So we're staying in the month. Example of patients discharged on 3/30 or admitted on 3/30. They were discharged on 4/4. March stays 31 minus 30, you have 1 day. Here you have your April stay, 4 minus 1. This is a little bit more confusing. If the admission and discharge are the same day, then the calculation of the LOC also is going to be accomplished by just subtracting that 1 day or portion of the admission. So you have your dates, March 30th or 27th through the 30th. You're looking at 3 days minus 1, you're looking at actually 2 days. But let's get into it because I wanted to break it down. So we're going to start off by calculating time spent in an outpatient setting. So this is an outpatient setting. We're looking at minutes now, okay? Still looking at one patient. If the hour is different, subtract and use a method for inpatient. So in this first example, the patient came in at 8:05, was taken to the exam room at 8:22. How do we find out how long they were actually getting things done? Easy, right? We take the 22 minus the 5, which gives us 17 minutes. Calculating the LOS, we're utilizing the arrival in the exam to when the physician actually came in and started talking to the patient, doing whatever they needed to do, okay? So the exam room time was between 8:50 to 8:22, giving you the correct amount of minutes. In example 2. So in this particular example, a patient arrived at an outpatient clinic room at 8:22 a.m., right? The physician entered the exam room at 8:50. What we're doing now is also utilizing the arrival to room to physician and looking at the methodology, finding out how much time the physician and the patient like the interaction. So exam room time, we came in at 8:22. We look at 8:50. We just subtract the 50 from 22, which gives us the 28 minutes. Okay, we're not done. The rest of this is really kind of just showing you guys how to get to the answers. This is the third example. Calculating time spent in the outpatient setting continuing. So we're starting from 3:02, and this is the kind of way my mind works. If I have to determine how long something's been going on, let's say something starts at 2:02 and you want to calculate to 3:15. What I do is 2:02 to 3:02 is 60 minutes. And then I subtract from there to get the time. For me, that is the easiest way to do it. You have your 1 hour. So 2:02 to 3:02, I think the word it's backwards, but 2:02 to 3:02, you're looking at 6 minutes. The time is now 2:62. It's now possible to subtract the 62 from like the 111. We're looking at, and this is all, I have more that are like more consistent with the numbers being, but what you're doing is you're taking the hours, and then once you get to like a solid number, so 2:02 to 2:62, right? We know that from 2:02 to 2:02 to 2:62, which is actually 3:02, okay? 60, 3:02 to another 60 gives you 2:62. So we know that that's at least 1 hour. If we wanted to find out a little bit longer, let's say it was from 2:02 to like 4:05, you would take your calculator. 2:02 to 3:02 is 1 hour. 3:02 to 4:02 is 2 hours. And then you kind of get it that way. That's the easiest way when you're looking at multiple times. Okay. And we have examples that we're going to do tonight. All right. We're talking about total length of stay. This is just another way, the sum of the days of a stay of any group of inpatients discharged during a specific period of time. And you're looking at the total discharge days. Y'all know I love visualization. So the patient was admitted on January 10th. They were discharged 21 days later. Granted, you can look and be like, oh, okay. So admitted and discharged in the same month, use the regular method. 131 minus 10 equals 21 days. Admitted and discharged in the same month, another time, 7/8 to 7/30. If admitted and discharged in the same day, 11/20, that's when we were saying It's 1. Now, with the average length of stay, inpatients are discharged during periods under consideration or if they stayed in the hospital. So you have to look at different things. It is useful when we start talking about getting admin in and looking at trends and patterns and how our patients are actually receiving care. We also look at how long are we having these patients in the hospital. So the formula for the average length of stay is the average length of stay equals length of stay divided by total discharges, including death. In the book, we have these examples. So you have, using statistics in the table below, determine the following calculations for the community and round all figures to 1 decimal place. Now, the question we want to know is we want to calculate the ALS for adults and children patients. So keyword is we're looking at length of stay, right? We're trying to look at multiples of people. What we would do is take the 67,392 divided by 15,672. What do you guys get? I'm pulling out my calculator too, just to make sure my math was right when I did it. Okay, so what did you guys get? You can type it in.
I dropped my calculator and my screen went blank, so I was
Okay,
gonna
that's
log
okay.
in on another one, and then it, I started to close this one, it came back on. So is it 67?
So 67,392 divided by 15,672.
4.30.
4.3, because we're just doing it by 1 decimal place.
Okay.
Yeah, 4.30, blah, blah, blah. Here's another one. In this one, calculate the ALOS for length of stay for newborn patients. Here, we're now looking at 3,453 and dividing that by 1,502. 3,453 divided by. And we're still only doing it by 1 decimal place, just 1.
2.3.
Yes, that is correct. 2.3. And that's because it was 2.29. The 9 has us round up to a 3. Good job. All right. So most facilities honestly do not include newborns in their formula. As you remember from the last couple of weeks, we do newborns separate. Formula stays the same. It's just now we're talking about newborn specific. Okay. So it would be the same. This one, the answers are already there, so I didn't pull them out, but we're looking at the table. You're taking the discharge days and dividing them by the newborn discharges to give you the 2.7. For this one, 3.3 here and 2.3. The biggest thing is looking where they want us to round to. 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places. And we're going to get the opportunity to do this, but just kind of showing you how they came to these answers. 427 divided by 128 actually gives you 3.33. Rounding to the first decimal, it's 3.3. The first one was actually 2.69. The 69 rounds to 7, which gives you 2.7. And of course, the last one, 247 divided by 107 is 2.31, but you round to 1 decimal place and it gives you 2.3. Now, that's the lesson. Let's get into some of your apply and reflect questions, okay? So you had a question where you had to determine the length of stay for the following patients. Remember, in this one, there are 30 days in June, and I bring that up because we're starting in June. So going back to what we learned in the class, if they are admitted and discharged in the same day, the length of stay is 1 day. Okay. The second one, you guys will see a couple of times. Now remember, we're looking at the length of stay. Patient was admitted on 6/25. There are 30 days in June. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That will give you 10 days. But remember, we're going to subtract that discharge day to give us 9. Same thing with letter C, admitted on 6/25. Now we're going a little bit further. Now we're looking at 30 days, told you, 37 days. And then of course, the last one, 6/25 to 9/2. The cool thing about this one is it's matching. So you actually just plug them in. Okay. Plug and play, plug and play. So that was definitely one that I saw. Most people did pretty good on. If you've already taken it, I've already looked. The second one, now we're looking at calculating times. A lot of times when a patient goes to like a service or a procedure to have it done, they're looking at how much time was spent in each section. So we want to know how long was the surgery. Now, the surgery started at 8:35 a.m. Okay, 8:35 a.m. and it ended at 9:50. But remember, and do what works best for you. This is what works best for me. From 8:35 to 9:35, that gives me 60 minutes. From 9:35 to 9:50, that's 15. 60 plus 15 lets me know that that surgery took 75 minutes. All right, let's try another one, looking at the same chart. Now I want to know how long was the prep time. Keep in mind that patient called back to the prep area at 6:12 a.m. and the prep was completed by 7:58. What was the total prep time? And you guys can type it in. (6:12). The prep was completed at 7:58.
1 hour, 46 minutes.
Or 106 minutes. So yes, that is correct. 1 hour and 46 minutes total prep time. And you'll see it written in minute forms. So you'll see 106 minutes versus 1 hour and 46 minutes, just so you guys know.
Well, what?
Because you take
106 and 1 hour, 46.
So it's 1 hour and 46 minutes, which actually equals 106 minutes because 60 minutes.
Okay,
plus,
okay.
Yeah,
When
106.
you said 106, I'm thinking 1 hour and 6 minutes.
Right. No.
Okay.
106, 106 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's how you'll see it. You'll see it as, 106 minutes, 112 minutes, but just know 106 minutes is actually just 1 hour and 46 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing, now, these are from your knowledge checks. We're looking at determining the length of stay for the following patient. So you'll see this particular question a lot if you've noticed, like if you've already done your knowledge checks and you've already done your apply and reflect, this particular question is sprinkled a lot. When we look at determining the length from June 25th and discharged on July 4th. Again, your options are 10 days, 9 days, 8 days, or 7 days. And the answer is 9 days.
9 days.
Yep, we just worked on that one. The other thing to remember is, you guys know my little thing. I know it sounds silly, but I would encourage you to grab your own, because if you noticed, a lot of these are dealing with months and knowing how many months are in or how many days are in each month. Granted, I know that it's elementary, but this is what another little trick that I do for myself. Okay. Next question. What is the wait time for a patient who arrives at a physician's office at 8:05 a.m. and is seen by the physician at 9:15 a.m.? Is it 68 minutes, 80 minutes, 60 minutes, or 70 minutes? That is correct. I saw the answer. Thank you, Miss Julie. It is 70 minutes. The easiest way, again, is from 8:05 to 9:05 is 60 minutes. From 9:05 to 9:15 is 10 minutes. 60 minutes plus 10 minutes equals a total time of 70 minutes. So we have a little bit more time, and I want to try something just a little bit different. I want you, if you can, if you're driving, just listen with us. I don't want anybody getting any accidents, but I want you to go to Quizlet Live, which you guys heard the music earlier. So I'm going to go back, I think. Okay. And you're going to go to Quizlet Live. We want to do a quick and fun formative assignment. We can, so this one kind of just helps a little bit more. I've added the flashcards and announcements that will open up as soon as the class is done. And it's just a flashcard game to kind of help if there's terms that you're not that comfortable with. Now, normally we would do the classic, which is just, the regular, like if you've done Cahoots before. And what I'm doing is grabbing just the terms from the course. I did this today. So the terms from the course to kind of create like a little flashcard game for us to play really quick before we get out of here. Live. I can't, let me turn on the music. Okay, I was like, I can't do anything about the music, but I just did. You're going to go to Quizlet Live and then type in C12 3AB. And once you've done that, we'll push start. Now, like I said, I'm going to put this, like it's going to open up automatically in the announcements so that you can kind of play. So the code is C12-3 alpha, A as in alpha, B as in Bravo. Once you've done that, you can go back and push yourself more and more. This is just another tool to prepare you because I know math is a little bit different. Granted, this is a statistics class, but we do a lot of, figuring out math problems. And it does start with just making sure we understand the terms. Okay. So I have Julie in. You are welcome. Hopefully Antoine can get in. Oh, perfect. So we can go ahead and start the activity. So this is the first time I've done it this way. So in front of you, you'll see just the questions, right? Where time measured in hours, number 24. And A, B, C, or D. Perfect. And the other thing I do like about this is it's kind of like poll questions, but a little bit different, right? It's more interactive. You guys actually get to see what's really going on. That's okay. And this is great because remember, these are just the terms, payments, groups, designs. These are just the terms. And it's just another way to give you a little bit more confidence as you guys go in where you're like, you know what? I'm actually good at math. Or at least you can go to a hospital and be like, yeah, I know exactly what you're doing for your census, for your inpatient, for length of stay, discharge days. And like I said, I am putting this up. It's going to automatically come up during your in your announcements today. Awesome. And there's only a couple more questions. It's not that many. Patients formerly was in the hospital. Awesome. Good job, guys. Good job. We're going to stop after the 5th question. All right. Good job. Yes, we are done. Leave. New share. Good job, everybody. My computer's a little bit slow today. Give me a second. All right. Which brings us to the end. We did our math trivia. What we know that Asia is where the number 4 is considered an unlucky number. We also know that math may not teach us how to add, love, or subtract hate, but it gives us hope that every problem has a solution. For those of you who are watching this playback, how would you spend your winnings if you won the $6 million lottery? Would you spend it? Please don't forget to work on your knowledge checks and your apply and reflect, because it will help you be prepared for your feedback. Also, next week is midterms. With that, career services will be hosting our live session. So what does that mean? That means that anything that you may feel like you need extra pointers on, let me know so I can upload a PowerPoint or give you guys a little thing, because we will be with career services and they have a lot of amazing and important information as you guys get closer and closer to graduation. So if you have not been able to make live sessions, next week is the session you really want to be here, because like I mentioned, career services will be here. Any questions that you have, bring them so that they can aid you as you get closer and closer to graduation. Are there any questions? Thank you too for really sticking it out and being here and trying the Quizlet. How did you guys like it?
I liked it.
Just an extra tool, right? Just
Yeah.
extra tool. All right. Well, that's all I have. Keep in mind, be on the lookout. That announcement will open up with all of the questions, not just the few that you saw this evening. With that, have a wonderful evening, y'all. Good night.
Thank you too. Good night.